What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Yamcast. Today is episode 81. We've got a whole lot of Yamcasts for you to go back in the catalog and check out if you have never seen it before. If this is your first time checking it out, there are so many more episodes to go back and watch. Today's Yamcast is supported by Flying Eyes, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Got my Flying Eyes right here. These are the glasses that we wear I wear while I'm out riding on a motorcycle because they have these really awesome thin stems that fit right between the helmet, and no longer will you have that irritating pressure pushing down on your head.
Yeah, and as we learned when we blew up the Gixxer, they also work very great for shooting muffs, right?
Yeah, they help keep the sound down, so that's nice. Yeah.
So hit the link down below and check out Flying Eyes. They are our optical lenses of choice for our faces. Imagine that. So for today's Yamcast, we've got news from BSA of all people, a little bit more Chinese bike news, and we're also going to get caught up on GPs. By now, I love talking GPs, so we're going to talk about it. Of course we are. Then we have a news segment on the Yamcast. We're calling it This or That. Spite and I will debate a hotly contested topic. This week it's naked bikes versus adventure bikes as a daily rider.
Yes.
You've chosen the mantle of adventure bikes. I've chosen the mantle of naked bikes. I think it'll be a good time. Hopefully pilot that one out. We've also got our Discord Q&A section. This week we are talking about working on your bikes at home. What kind of home maintenance do you do? Do you repair your own motorcycles? Why or why not? What's the most extensive maintenance you've done on your motorcycle? I think for us, we've gotten pretty deep on some bikes here in the shop. Pretty deep. And then lastly, we have a meme contest at the end of the podcast here, of course. We are memeing the Predator moment from the Predator helmet video, right?
Basically, I was just like, that whole video is a meme,
yes.
So pick your favorite moment from that video and make a meme out of it.
Yes.
Because there are so many good moments in that video.
Absolutely. So stick around, folks. It is going to be a good one. Alrighty, Spite. In the news today, what are we talking?
So, we're going to start out with the BSA, which I'm sure some of y'all out there will remember that name from back in the days of the Tritons and the, all of those weird bikes that were basically the exact same made in Britain.
Yeah, you have to be quite a grizzled ancient to remember BSA, in the flesh, know?
This is the company that made the first rocket.
Yeah.
The Rocket 3.
That's right.
Was the BSA.
Yep.
They're back now. Which is kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They've been long since in the grave. And
yeah, for sure.
Based on what we're seeing from this motorcycle, perhaps they should have stayed there.
Yeah, it's looking to me like they're pulling a Royal Enfield, huh?
Yeah. So, first things first, let's start with the specs. So this is a 652cc single, so it might as well just be a KLR engine.
Yep.
And I'm not just saying that it's
a big single.
It's a big single putting down 45 horsepower and 41 foot-pounds of torque.
It's a KLR engine.
It's a KLR engine.
Okay.
So it's a KLR dressed up as a Meteor 350.
Is it air-cooled?
It is air-cooled, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm not sure if those fins are... Because I'm seeing
does it do the Bonneville thing where it kind of sneakily puts a radiator right in the middle?
That looks like that could be a rad,
let's be
but
honest.
I can't tell.
Do you think the 42 horsepower needs a liquid-cooled radiator? I don't think so. I think you'll be just fine.
Yeah, and this is doing the full Triumph deal.
Yeah.
Where, here, give me a second. I forgot to switch to picture-in-picture because I'm big brain. So
These are some snazzy promo shots, though, I gotta say.
Yeah, they bust out the Dan Flavin art and all that cool stuff. But so just looking at this bike here, I'm seeing just total Triumph stuff here. We've got the fake carburetors because we gotta have those.
Is it fuel injected? It's not actually carbureted?
It's fuel injected.
Okay, thank God. It's a small mercy.
Yeah, so we've got the fake carburetors here. We've got the fake air fins on there. A lot of the
at the front that does look like a radiator, but I don't.
It's either a radiator or an oil cooler.
That is a massive oil cooler.
I can't really tell from here.
Yeah.
We've got Vibri brakes on here. It literally looks like a Royal Enfield.
It kind of does, yeah. But I wonder if they're going to try to bank on the BSA badge to upcharge like a Triumph, but to give you a bike with one less cylinder.
It's odd that they went with a single.
It's odd that they just they were like, we know what you want. We're just going to give you the old hits, the old classics. It's like some band coming out of nowhere and doing like a a reunion tour, and you're just like, okay, nobody really asked for this, like, all right.
I will give them that is a nice twin analog tack and speedo, although the the tack goes backwards and the speedo goes backwards.
That's very confusing.
So instead of going like this, it goes like this.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to read this quote that I'm seeing right there. It says, "There's no word on pricing yet, but we expect something in the region of 5,000 pounds to 6,000 pounds. It puts it about $6,500 to $7,000, I think, something like that, making it a direct competitor to Royal Enfield's uber-popular 650 twin range." And then, quote from the CEO, "This motorcycle came to life with a lot of passion and emotion," says Classic Legend CEO and BSA director Ashish Joshi. Is BSA, is it now being run by an Indian company? Is that what I'm picking up on?
Let me do a Google, because I am not 100% sure on that. Because
I feel like for it to be revitalized and to be, coming back in the fold, kind of feels like an Indian company took it over,
And with the whole...
resurrected by Mahindra.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they've brought it back why is India as a market bringing back all of these old school British motorcycles?
I could make a lot of jokes that are not okay for the podcast about that, based on British colonialism and stuff, but I will refrain. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like it harkens back to the old British bikes. That's my take.
But I mean, I get it with the Royal Enfields, because Royal Enfield, like they separated so that they could make the bullets for the Indian Army and along the Indian-Pakistani border and stuff.
Yeah, like
they started
their bike.
Then they started building it in India, and then Enfield died.
Yeah.
And then Royal Enfield in India was like, that's the branch that won, right? It's like a local name. This doesn't seem that way. It just kind of looks a little bit like the Bullet.
Yeah, I mean, this feels so much just like a Me Too entrant to these kind of classically styled new bikes that are being printed out en masse by Triumph, by Royal Enfield. I mean, hell, even Kawasaki's getting in on this with the Z650 RS,
Yeah. I'm not sure. It could be cool. It could be cool. It could also be just an absolute donkey, because...
I mean, it seems that way right now.
A 652cc single, let me tell you, it's a donkey.
And it's going to sound really bad, probably.
Yeah.
Like, at least the Royal Enfield sounded kind of cool. You know what I mean? Had that twin-cylinder flavor to it. It was kind of neat.
Just imagine if it has the horrific valve clatter that the KLR does. Like, you've heard the KLR running.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like it's got marbles in the top end.
Yeah. Yeah, is this an engine they're just going to build, or are they sourcing it from somewhere? Do we know the story about the engine?
I don't know the story behind the engine, but my guess is it's either a QJ motor or it's one that they're building.
Yeah.
And my guess is they're probably going to build it, because for all of the jokes that we can make about the cheaper Indian motorcycles, they have a lot of pride in what they build.
Yeah.
So,
and say what you will, you get a whole extra cylinder with the Royal Enfield.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know why I'd buy. Like, for me, I wouldn't want to buy this bike just because it's single sill. Every other 650-ish cc retro bike like this is a twin.
Yeah, and they sound better because they have the 270.
They're smoother. They just perform better. Like, I don't see why. I'm having a hard time understanding the value proposition for the BSA currently.
Just the badge would be my guess.
Yeah.
I guess we'll also have to see if it comes to America.
I highly doubt it.
See, I think it would do pretty okay here among the people who would also buy a monkey, that being old codgers who bought one of these back in the day.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Honda's figured out that that's a huge market that you can tap into, is old nostalgia. Mm-hmm. It's gonna happen to all of us, Like, I wonder what bikes will. Do you think Yamaha will make a retro version of an MT-07 for us in 100 years or something like that? If they still can,
Just upload my consciousness directly to the MT-07.
I feel like that is the bike of our generation, is an MT-07. Honestly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the Gold Star, the BSA thing, I get what it's trying to tug at, but I don't see this as a competitive entrant to the market. That's the problem for me.
No.
I think it's neat that BSA is back, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, BSA, the brand is back. But are they really? You know what I mean? Like,
it's the business necromancer has brought back the bones and put different skin on it.
yeah. Like there's that tagline right there under that photo. It says, "But it's not all about engine starts and chassis or engine stats and chassis components. Bikes like this need to look as good as they ride, and we reckon the BSA motorcycles have nailed this brief." So there's like, yeah, the frame and the engine suck donkey dick, but that's okay. It looks cool, you know? Like, I don't know if that's really true nowadays. I don't think so.
I mean, the Royal Enfield didn't handle great, but at least it felt pretty good. The brakes were pretty woeful.
Yeah,
but
it was pretty decent all around, you know? I didn't have a terrible time riding it.
it didn't just do this while you were going around a corner like the MT-09.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, BSA coming back. If we ever get the chance to ride one here stateside, sure, we'll take it for a rip.
Sure. Next, though, because we're staying with the small displacement engines from across the pond,
this is ridiculous.
QJ Motors. So we've talked a lot about QJ lately. Between the Benelli,
they're doing a lot. They're like everywhere now. It's crazy.
Between the Benelli, the KTM situation where they're licensing the 1301cc, they're licensing the LC8 motor, and now they're like, yeah, we'll take all of this stuff and we're gonna make a sport bike. And just looking at this motorcycle, the first thing that came to my brain was Ducati Panigale smushed with a Ninja 650.
It's exactly right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head.
And I love the fin.
The fin is ridiculous, and that really gives it that weird bootleg Panigale feel. I mean, this is such a blatant ripoff of a Panigale.
Even down to the single-sided swing arm, man.
Yeah, like this is ridiculous. Like this is genuinely ridiculous how much this looks like a Panigale. It's got like the white stripe down the center too.
Yep.
But this is a 550cc motor, right?
Yeah, so this is perfect A2 compliance basically, 47 to 50 horsepower, 40 foot-pounds of torque. So it's not gonna blow anybody's minds. Although they are claiming that they have Brembo brakes on this thing, which...
No, you've misread that. It's Brombos. They're not Brembos, they're Brombos.
Brombo.
Yeah. That's what plants crave. No, I'm sure they're probably like just absolute bottom shelf Brembos.
I mean, they're like...
They're radially mounted, from what I'm seeing. Okay.
Or if they're radially mounted in this, they're axially mounted so they can be radially mounted, like
yeah,
Benelli.
Yeah, they're mounted axially, and they're like they have the radial. Yeah, I could see that.
It does look like it has. Oh no, that's the little blinker situation.
I thought it was another hood ornament. Yeah. No, but I'm seeing the case on the side there, and that looks exactly like the Leoncino 500 case. So I'm pretty sure they either just bored out or stroked out the Leoncino 500 motor a little bit.
Or they just took it right out and plopped it in there without doing any modification.
Yeah, it says it's basically, scroll down, it says basically the same engine used in Benelli's Leoncino 500, punched out from 499 to 554, thanks to a small increase in both bore and stroke. Interesting. Yeah, so this is also what they're saying that the new MV Agusta little adventure bikes are going to use as well, right? The Lucky Strike, or what is that? No, not Lucky Strike.
What is it? It's the
it's the Elephant. It's basically the Elephant. I can't remember what it was.
MV Agusta Lucky Explorer.
Like Lucky Explorer. Yeah, they have the 5.5 and the 9.5. That's right. Yeah. The 5.5 is going to be basically this engine from this bike and just adventurized a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is basically just the TRK. Good grief with the freaking pop-ups. Go away.
Yeah.
It's basically the TRK 502.
Yeah.
Just with a little bit more bore and stroke.
Yeah, and then apparently they're also going to use the QJ Motors 550 Scrambler model as well. I mean, this is crazy how much they're putting into different bikes and different, like, it's making my head spin. You know what I mean? How many different bikes they have.
So they've got this as like this. First of all, I'm not sure if they want to call it a sport bike or a sport tour, because these are some seriously Ninja 650 ergos.
For sure.
So they're probably making this as just like a chilled out sport bike for the street. They're probably going to make a super sport. They've got ADVs. They've got scramblers. They've got naked bikes. They've got everything under the sun now.
Yeah.
And it feels like it just sort of popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and from what we know from our contact over at Benelli, aka QJ as well, they are coming for the American market.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming hard. And if they come with the correct price and bikes that don't look terrible and work all right, a lot of people will buy them, you know? Say what you will about Chinese bikes or Chinese engines or even Chinese economic policies or some of their cultural perspectives on intellectual property laws and copyright and all that stuff. There's a lot to talk about there, but at the end of the day, a lot of people won't really look that deep into stuff, and if it's cheap, they'll buy it.
Yep.
That's it. You know? But I still retain that a used Japanese bike is still better than a new Chinese bike. What do you think?
I would certainly have the Ninja 400 over this, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. All day.
Because, first of all, the Ninja 400 is super light.
Yeah.
These bikes are not light at all.
No.
They're very heavy.
Yes.
I was at TJ's, which has Benelli's on the show floor, and I saw the TRK 502, and I was like, oh, that's a cool-looking bike, because I thought about, waiting for the 800, the TRK 800, to hit the States before I got the KLR. And I lifted the 502 up, and I was like, God damn, that's a heavy motorcycle.
Yeah, you rock it side to side. You're like, whoa, this is a big girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has, it's got... The thing that drives me insane about a lot of these motorcycles is they take so many stylistic cues from other bikes that are the most recognizable in their fields.
Yes.
And they just, smush it all together.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
they very much lack a personality or their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I kind of crave about a motorcycle. Is you go in and no matter what, it's its own little animal.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like these motorcycles are doing that.
Josh and I were at the AIM Expo back in January, and QJ and SSR and Benelli, they had a big presence and a big booth in the middle. And they had all their bikes lined up. And as you walked around this booth, Josh and I were just looking at the bikes and pointing out, you're like, all right, that's an MT-07, that's an Ninja 650, that's a 400. All these bikes just look like other bikes, you know, but from some weird alternate dimension, So yeah, look at that thing. It literally looks like a Panigale. Don't try to tell me you're not trying to make a Panigale look alike. You know what I mean?
I'm just looking at if you don't look at anything else, just look at the headlights.
Yeah, it's the headlights, man.
But they're going to probably use that same oversized 50 millimeter front fork. The same goofy mounting for the brakes.
Yep.
Whatever works. And like you said, if it's cheap enough and it works, people are going to buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. So more QJ motorbikes coming. They're seemingly trying to take over. But that's going to wrap up the Chinese news. And now we have MotoGP quick wrap up, right?
Yes.
We just finished up the round at Portugal. I love how the British people say it. They say Portimao. I'm like, that's not how you pronounce that word at all. I speak Portuguese, guys. That's not how you pronounce that word. It's Portimão is how it would normally be pronounced, but nobody can say that, so they say Portimao. Really cool circuit. It's really big and flowy. If you guys have never seen it, it's a big roller coaster circuit. And looks like the Yamaha problems are finally not so bad anymore. They found a circuit with more corners, so they were able to put some daylight. Fabio put on an absolute masterclass, right?
Yeah, as soon as Fabio got away, I was like,
it's
okay,
over.
All right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Who's going to get second,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would have been something if... Okay, I got to talk about Marquez because freaking Marquez. The dude is hamstrung by this stupid motorcycle they have him on. He doesn't have enough data on it. It's just... They should have just left him on the RC213.
I don't know, man. I think Honda did a great thing by building a package that other people are going to ride. And the thing about HRC is that they're so cutthroat,
Yeah.
I think they started smelling the blood in the water with Mark, and they're like, holy shit, we don't have our golden boy anymore. We got to scramble and figure something out for the future. So I think they started building a bike that other people can ride and try to maybe get some more talent in the pipeline too, on the LCR bikes and the factory bikes.
Yeah. Which, speaking of LCR, the possibility of Miller going to LCR.
Oh, I don't think so.
What do you think?
Big rumor mill. No way.
I could
Miller's
see
a
it.
Ducati man through and through. No way.
Where's he going to go?
I don't know.
He's not going to Premac.
Here's the thing, right? Like, that factory seat, I mean, honestly, at this point, Pecco might lose his seat. I think he's contracted out, but he's not doing super hot.
No. I don't know who in their right mind decided to let Pecco go qualify on slicks.
No.
Like, why did they send it? Because that dude bonked his noodle so damn hard on that high
he got
side.
injured. I think here's the problem. Like, Miller can't go to Premac, which is it's a downgrade of one level, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think he would really float the idea of going down 2 to Gresini, right?
Oh.
So it's like, well, maybe he goes to Suzuki in a weird world where Joanne Mir wants to go somewhere else. Miller goes to Suzuki. I don't think he'd go LCR Honda, especially because Moto2 has tons of talent in the pipeline that are basically like, they have like a direct path to the LCR bikes. Mm-hmm. Ayogura and Chantra on the Idemitsu bikes in Moto2.
Yep.
They're basically like going to go straight there. So I have no idea where Miller goes. And it's crazy because he gets podiums. He won 2 races last year. He's not terrible. Like, there's no reason a guy like that should like be instantly on the chopping block. But GP's crazy right now, you know?
There is no way in sweet that if, like, let's say Rins decides, like, he's like, oh, I want to go see what pastures may be greener. They're never going to put Mir and Miller on the same team.
Oh, no way. Yeah. No,
it would have to be Mir to go somewhere.
Mir has to leave Suzuki. Yeah. Mir and Miller cannot be in the same box.
No.
That's insane.
As we saw there this weekend, there's some blood between those two.
Yeah, those two seemingly cannot stay off each other's motorcycles. They love to swap paint, you know? Like a little charcuterie board of Ducati and Suzuki parts that now exist together on one little plate. Yeah, those two have had quite the history, and yet again, and this one's a bummer because Miller, I mean, he was just maybe a little too ambitious and he lost the front end, and it was a total racing incident. It wasn't like a stupid decision. He didn't run into the back of Mir or cut his line off or do something crazy. He just up. It happens, you know, which is why you saw Mir got up, did the slow clap, and then he's like, shit, let me go see if he's okay, you know, because he's like, it happens. But it is weird, though, because it does seem to happen to Miller more often than other riders. Mm-hmm. You know, it does seem like Miller kind of finds himself in these situations pretty often. So I don't know if it's just a racing thing. I don't know.
I think he probably just... he's probably in that same realm of Marc where he's like, I don't care. Let's see if this works.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll just send it, but he just doesn't get hurt like Marc does.
Yeah.
You know, so he just keeps sending it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was just like, all right, I'm just going to break a little later than Mir.
Yeah.
And then he did, and he just lost the front, right?
Yeah.
I just don't see him having the spectacular high sides that Marquez does.
No, Marc, for some reason, he has a talent of crashing in huge ways, for sure. But it's weird because I don't really see Marc out of the title hunt just yet, you know?
Nope.
This is a long season. We're heading into round 6 in Jerez, which by the time this goes live, that will have already happened, but we don't know what the results will be yet. So we still have 15 rounds left. 15? Because there's 21 rounds. We've been through 5.
15, yeah. No, that would be 16 left.
16 more rounds. There's like upwards of 400-something points up for grabs.
I think this race is really going to start determining who has it. Because right now, it's Quartararo and Rins are tied for first.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Rins has to be loving this.
Yeah.
Because every year he's always like, why don't people consider me a title contender? And we're like, you crash a lot, and you haven't really shown us much. But maybe this is his year. Maybe finally, you know? I don't know.
I was really rooting for Mir, though. I was like, finally, Mir's going to be doing something real good.
Nope.
And then
16 points down the toilet.
Yep.
See you later. And that meant that Alicia Spargaro collected another podium.
Mm-hmm.
He's gotten a win and a podium.
Did you see?
And he is 3 points away from the lead.
Yeah. But so I've noticed something about Aleix. He's gotten it, like, now that he's kind of become a name, it seems like either he's talking to people more or something, because he was a little bit on the podium. I forget who he was talking about.
That's just a leash, man.
He was complaining a little bit. Like he was also complaining about the towing at Coda.
This is the thing that Aleix has always done, in my opinion, for like years. Is like he just steps up and just starts like randomly complaining about things. That's just what I've seen of his personality. He's a bit of a crybaby with stuff. Mm-hmm. Not more than his teammate Maverick, though, which is now blaming the Aprilia once again for his woes.
That was fast.
Yeah. It's never anything Maverick did wrong. Maverick doesn't do anything wrong. Maverick is the best, you know? No, it has to be the bike. And what is it? Johan Zarco picked up a second place, right? Mm-hmm. Good for him. Good for Zarco. Zarco's he's a reliable, consistent dude, you know? Like
he's my dark horse, man. Whenever I don't have anybody to root for, I'm like, go Zarco!
Yeah. Jerez next week is going to be interesting because so many people go really well at that track. I wouldn't be surprised if Fabio just picks up another win. Yeah. Because he was going to pick up a win last year if he didn't have the arm pump thing. Mm-hmm. So I would not be surprised if we see Fabio streaking away again, 4 seconds up, and then everyone's like, uh-oh, Fabio's going to win the championship. But no, this year, I don't think Fabio's going to win. I think it's going to be a total oddball. Oddball champion.
Bastianini, maybe.
Maybe. Who knows?
It's wild what's going on with the grid.
It's insane. I honestly would not put it past Aleix to set up a title fight, honestly.
Finally bust out that yellow marker, number 55.
God, Aprilia sales would just go insane if they could finally update that sticker. They could finally just put the 55 on there.
They should, if they win, they should send out one to every Aprilia owner in the world.
Absolutely. It would be a marketing cost, but just everyone gets a 55 sticker.
It's totally worth it, man.
Totally worth it. Like, you would get publicity like no one would believe. That's what they should do. But yeah, GP right now is just impossible to predict, impossible to call, which makes it super fun to watch. Yeah. It's super exciting to tune in and watch qualifying and see where people are at in the grid, because the grids are always so different, you know?
Because we didn't have time to watch qualifying before we watched the race, I opened up the race and watched the first lap, and I was like, no, we're going to sit here for like another hour and we're going to watch all the qualifying because something happened. Because this grid is fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, you saw...
Rins was 23rd. Pecco was 24th.
And he made up 11 places in a lap?
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, Marquez had the save of a lifetime, basically, but 24 to 11?
No, he basically went 23rd on the grid to 4th place.
Yeah.
Insane ride by Rins. And he kept it up. He didn't bin it.
I was waiting for that to happen.
He doesn't do it anymore. Doesn't seem. Yeah. You know?
Doesn't have to override that front end.
Rins is going to have, I think, he goes really well at Silverstone. So I think that's going to be a track he's going to probably win at. I think the Suzukis are always kind of there, you know?
They're always together, too.
Yeah, they're always together. Yeah. I don't know. Might be Suzuki's year again. And then if Mir or Rins wins this year, no one could put the asterisk and be like, well, Marc wasn't there. It's like, nope, Marc was here the whole damn year.
Yep.
And he couldn't put it together. So
then they're going to blame the bike. Yeah. I'm ready to blame the bike. It's not Marquez's fault. Honda, you fucked him up.
I mean, Marc is still a serious threat, but maybe it's sunset time.
Maybe.
Maybe it's time for sunset, you know? He's turning 30 next year, I think, right?
Yeah. It's now the clock's ticking.
He's getting old. He's the old guy now.
Freaking wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Old alien.
Yeah, the old alien. I don't think he'll stick around nearly as long as Rossi did. I think he'll probably tap out before he's 35. I think 34, 33, he might call it a day. I honestly think he's going to try to go for 10 championships and then try to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Be like, all right, I was the greatest of all time. No one's going to touch that. See you later, you know?
Yep. I mean, he's already got the most poles, right?
Yes, he does.
So, I mean, that's pretty freaking good right there.
But he doesn't have the 10 championships. He doesn't even have 9 like Rossi.
No.
So he'll always have that in the back of his mind. Always, you know?
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't get 9 or 10, it'll always be like, yeah, you were good.
But you weren't Rossi.
You weren't that good. Yeah. So, I mean, you can make the argument, though, that he'll never be as impactful to the sport as Rossi was, or never as big. I mean, people still wear Rossi memorabilia to races. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the impact that he had. But, yeah, GP is really interesting. I always want to talk about it, and it's my podcast, so we can talk about it. It's always good. But, all right, folks, we're now going to move on to the next portion of the podcast. It's This or That. All righty, folks, we are piling out a new segment for the Yamcast here. We are calling this or That. Spite and I will be taking hotly contested topics in motorcycling and trying to determine what is the right path for this pilot series. We are talking naked bikes versus adventure bikes as daily riders, right?
Yes.
All right. You have prepared 10 points for the adventure bikes. I have prepared 10 points for naked motorcycles. And I think I'm going to win.
We'll see. I've got my stuff is all based on experience. I've been living this life for the better part of 3 months now.
I'm going to do something
feeling pretty strong.
I'm going to do something fun here. I'm going to put in the announcements channel. For those of you who are live watching this on the Discord, I'm going to put adventure bike or naked bike for daily rider. And then we're going to check the results after we're done. How about that?
It's all gonna be naked bike because we got a bunch of squids in the Discord.
We have a lot of adventure boys in there. All right, we've posted it up on the announcements channel. We will check that when we are done with our points.
All right.
Lead us off. What do you think?
Okay, well, the first and most obvious reason why you would want an adventure bike as your daily rider is they are crazy comfortable motorcycles. They're about the most comfortable motorcycle that you can get for commuting on, aside from a cruiser, that doesn't have all the emotional baggage of owning a cruiser. You don't have all the like dad love me now stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just you get to ride around, be in the lap of luxury, even if you're getting something cheapo like the KLR. The KLR is pretty damn comfortable.
Okay. So it's the most comfortable bike, huh?
Yeah, it's the most supremely comfortable ride you're going to get out there.
That's a fair point, I guess.
Certainly more comfortable than a naked bike.
I don't know if it's more comfortable than any naked bike. I would wager that the weight and the overall stature of adventure bikes makes them kind of unwieldy in a lot of ways.
How? We're just on the highway. How is it unwieldy on the highway?
Not on the highway. I think like if you're doing like proper commuting stuff and you're doing like slow speed parking lot stuff or you're trying to like move around places, the damn thing weighs like 550 pounds.
I mean, just get a smaller adventure bike. Get yourself a
You can have a little big bike or a big bike.
Yeah, of course. No. Just get the little big one and then you're all good.
Ridiculous. I disagree, obviously. So my first point for naked bikes as a daily rider, and I think it's the most important point, they actually look cool. Adventure bikes are dorky as hell, and the people who ride them are even nerdier.
MT10.
Aesthetics matter to a lot of motorcyclists.
MT10. The entire MT line of motorcycles is ugly as sin.
Ducati Street Fighter V2 and V4.
I mean...
Even though Whitney and Derek thought it was hideous.
Yeah, they both thought it was ugly.
Well, they don't know any better. Sorry, Whitney.
They see a bunch of people out there think that they look incomplete.
The naked bike is a motorcyclist motorcycle, right? Like crotch rockets and ADV bikes, the Ewan McGregor, all this stuff. Like those are mainstream options. The naked bike, you got to know what you got to know about naked bikes. You know what I mean? They look cool. We have to admit, naked bikes look cooler than ADV bikes.
Depends on the ADV bike.
Please.
Dude,
please.
The Raid Tenere?
Take the Hornet.
Yeah.
Take the Hornet versus the Raid Tenere. Park both of those at a coffee shop and see who thinks what looks cool.
I mean, the Hornet is like a special motorcycle, though. That's unfair for you to use.
That's how I get him, guys. I tug at his heartstrings. All right, what's your second point?
All right, number 2, they are specifically designed for usable torque right off the line because they're meant to be used off-road, so you can just poodle along. They have the low center of gravity. They're designed for you to refuting your earlier point about parking lot stuff. They're really easy to manage because they're designed to be ridden slow.
I disagree with them having a low center of gravity. Most adventure bikes that I've ridden have a very high center of gravity because it feels like everything's up top, up here with the gas tank and everything, and it feels really odd, you know?
I feel like I get more of that out of a dual sport than out of an ADV bike. ADV bikes have such low weight.
No, dual sports are so lightweight that you can just kind of chuck them over side to side, and it's super easy to ride. ADV bikes feel really top heavy to me.
No, I think
They're higher up off the ground because they have weird stilted suspension for no goddamn reason.
But the weight of the engine is all down low. It's the lowest part of the bike, the heaviest part.
But the huge gas tank up top is all that way up top. It makes it all...
So just don't fill it up all the way.
There you go. Don't use all the range you got.
You're commuting. We're talking about street commuting.
Okay, daily commuting, right? So, for your daily commute, you ride it half gallon, half gas tank always. You fill it up halfway. I got it. Okay. My second point is that you can get a huge variety of naked bikes, displacement, age, purpose, etc., and you can stick with them as you go through the progression ladder. You can start an MT-03, go to a street triple, go to a 210. Adventure bikes basically start, unless you're talking the little Duke 390 Adventure, which that doesn't really count, does it?
Duke 390 Adventure, we got the Versys X300, we've got...
Are those real adventure bikes?
Yeah. You can do anything on those bikes that you can do on a bigger adventure bike.
But there's like 2 of those. For naked bikes, I can think of like 10 different little bikes, probably 20 different middleweight bikes. If you go back in the catalog too, there's like a litany of naked bikes.
But how many of those are actually, like, of the modern crop, how many of those are actually worth owning? The Z400, certainly not the MT-03. That one's kind of garbagey. The CB,
we don't think that it's worth owning that one, but for a beginner rider, it's cheap, accessible, easy to ride, super low seat height. That's something about ADV bikes I'll talk about later.
But they're all sort of samey. You're getting in the small displacement. They're all the fucking same.
And the adventure bikes aren't the same. Half of them have a friggin' parallel twin in them.
You've got that's as you move up the ladder, right? Uh-huh. The small displacements, you got singles, you got parallel twins, you've got options. And I will give you that a lot of them look similar.
Yeah.
But there are, as you get up, you've got, your Duke 890R, which is, all hard-nosed, and you've got your soft-nosed V-Stroms and so forth. You do have options in what you want to get.
I think there's more of a variety in naked bikes, but we'll agree to disagree. What's your point number 3?
My point number 3 is... okay. Good luck with this one. Features, baby!
Okay.
ADV bikes have all the features that you want for your daily ride. Even your little Duke 390 has a bunch of awesome features. Cruise control, heated grips, heated seats on some of these bikes. They've got all the rider modes. Some of them have like crazy adjustable electronic suspension. You've got so many feature sets on these motorcycles. And, I mean, they're completely competitive, if not more competitive, with the same, you take your flagship naked bike, like the MT-10. Sure, you've got some really cool suspension, but your flagship ADV bike has even more cool suspension. And it's got the adjustable ride height on the Pan America.
When you say cool suspension...
electronically adjustable.
The 210 V4 factory is electronically adjustable suspension.
Yeah, but it doesn't do the ride height thing.
It has less travel and it's more composed. That's the only difference.
It doesn't do the ride height. You got the adjustable ride height on.
And why do they have that ride height?
Because they're super awesome off-road.
No, why do they have the adjustable ride height?
So that you can go over more obstacles off-road.
No, it's because they're too damn tall and people can't ride them.
Just get a lower seat.
That's why they have the Pan America dropping down and showing people like with their tiny ass little legs trying to jump aboard it.
I mean, you could say the same thing about some of our crazy aggressive hyper nakeds that have crazy tall seat heights.
For sure. But I think the average ADV bike has a taller seat height than the average sport bike, especially the average naked bike. Like I think the Hornet has like a 30-inch seat height, 31-inch seat height. It's pretty low.
32.
But a Pan America or like a BMW GS is like 34, 35.
Pan Am is 31 with the ride height engaged.
31 with the ride height engaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it with the ride height not engaged? 33?
34. But it doesn't matter because the ride height engages in such a way that you don't even notice.
I think these
Ducati's getting them now.
I think these bikes are also, because they're so large, they also are very difficult to swing a leg over and to maneuver and all that sort of thing. So I think the ride height is a technological solution to an inherent disadvantage these bikes have.
I don't see it that way.
That's what this whole series is about. We say a point, the other guy goes, nah, that's not right. You got it all wrong. All right, my next point number 3, is that naked bikes can easily be commuter motorcycles with the addition of a tank bag, a tail bag, or both. You don't need huge hard bag luggage for just commuting around town for a daily ride. any naked bike, you can put a tank bag on, a tail bag. You can carry 90% of what you need to. A backpack, too, if you really need to. Anything you need to get done, you can get done on the naked bike.
But if you have all, because this is my actual next point, is the panniers and so forth, you can put so much more. You can literally replace your car with an adventure bike if you want.
How much do you really need to be hauling around and bringing with you when you're riding your motorcycle?
Try go grocery shopping on a naked bike.
That's why I got a car.
But you could, let's say you want to replace you just want one vehicle to rule them all. Then you have the perfect option in the adventure bike.
I think you could, if you really wanted to do that, I think you could still put soft bags on a naked bike if you really needed to. And you could have them be removable, which is cool.
They're removable on ADV bikes, too.
Then you get the big, like little like rails and frame things on the side.
Crash protection.
They're removable, but they still, again, distract away from the aesthetic of the bike.
I think that's part of the aesthetic of the adventure bike, though, is all of the racks and stuff.
Utilitarianness and the racks.
It's literally meant to be like getting one of those off-road Ford Raptors with the lights on the roof and stuff.
I have a point about that later on in mine as well.
But I would rather, if I was going to be, and I do this on my adventure bike, I will run errands just solely on the KLR because I've got oodles of space on there. I do not run errands on a naked bike because then I have to put the bags on, and putting bags on a naked bike is actually a pain in the ass. How often do you put saddlebags on a motorcycle?
I don't put saddlebags on, but a tank bag you can just chuck on there.
Yeah, but you still have to do the straps up front. You got to do the straps.
If you got a
under the
magnetic
seat.
one, you just pop it on there.
And then it falls off while you're riding.
No, it doesn't fall off. The magnetic one doesn't fall off.
But if all I have to do is just slot the bag right onto the
The only one that falls off, apparently, is the front fender one that fell off today off the CRF. It's the one that falls off, apparently. What's your point number 4?
Well, my point number 4 was that you could cram more into an adventure bike. So just purely on volume, the adventure bike wins.
Okay, you can definitely haul more crap with you with an adventure bike. But I feel like if you want to be a good steward of the world, you don't need to own so much crap you need to be hauling around with you all the time. Be minimalistic. Own a naked bike. You don't need to have all this junk with you all the time, you know?
But I don't have to wear a backpack. And you know how much wearing a backpack sucks on a bike.
I don't like wearing a backpack on a bike, that's for sure. But
I just stuff it all into my saddlebags and it's problem solved.
All right, my point number 4, and this one I think you will have a hard time disagreeing with. Naked bikes pull wheelies like nobody's business, and the ergonomics support doing wheelies as well. Adventure bikes, with their gigantic weight and gigantic sizes, tend to not be as fun when it comes to doing the sweet dank nooners that we all love doing.
Ergonomically, I will give you that they are not designed to wheelie, but
when they come up to, you're like, this is a lot coming up, you know? Like, I've done wheelies on adventure bikes, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
But it's like doing a fucking wheelie in a pickup truck. It's like you're just like, yeah. I do it the Pan Am when you turn off the lift control. It feels awesome to float the front end on that thing.
Yeah.
Same thing on the 1290. They'll just float the wheel all the way through the first couple of gears, and you're just like, yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be a point later on in mine as well. It comes down to that a little bit. I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that, you know, when you're doing crazy stuff with your bikes, I mean, we talk about it a lot where, like, they get some Poltares-looking guy for the promos, and he's doing fat nooners on an Africa Twin or whatever, and, like, you know, doing trials maneuvers on these bikes. It comes down to the rider, really. You know, like, if you feel comfortable doing big wheelies on a big bike, more power to you. Personally, I don't like it. It feels crazy.
I mean, for me, coming down to comfort on a motorcycle, the bigger you are, the bigger your bike is, the more comfortable you're going to feel doing silly shit. That's why I was feeling more comfortable riding around off-road on the KLR doing silly shit.
Do you feel like it's directly correlated to size of rider then?
I think that, yes, the size of the motorcycle matching the size of the rider is important.
Yeah.
Because I do feel more comfortable off-road on an AEV bike than I do on a dual sport. Because it's just a bigger motorcycle.
Gotta ride harder terrain.
I'll putter along on the KLR.
Next point.
So my next point is a counterpoint to one that you're probably going to bring up at some point, and that is expense. Everybody looks at ADV bikes and they're like, oh, they're so expensive.
Yep, I'm going to talk about that.
They don't have to be. You don't have to go out and buy yourself the most expensive ADV bike, just like you don't have to run out and buy yourself the most expensive naked bike.
Mm-hmm.
It's $20,000 for a Pan America S. It's also $20,000 for a Tuono V4 Factory. So in that sense, they're pretty equivalent. If you look at something like the Tenere 700, the 890R, those come in roughly around the same price as the middleweight naked bikes, and those are the middleweight adventure bike segments. They've got the same kind of features that you see on those motorcycles. They come in at appropriate prices. And then you've got awesome motorcycles like the KLR 650, which is dirt cheap, and you can get into the little baby adventure bikes for not a lot of money. The Duke 390 Adventure is $7,000, and the Versys X300 is like $5,000, $5,500. It's crazy cheap.
The only counterpoint I have to that is a lot of the bikes you mentioned are either upcharged on the secondary market and are not available at dealerships. That was going to be my point. I can probably do it right now, is that naked bikes are more readily available, more cheap, and easier and cheaper to mod as well, since it's not like their entire audience is 40-year-old dads cosplaying as Ewan McGregor. You know, you actually have like normal people modifying and owning their bikes, right? You go on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, you set a top dollar figure of $3,000, you will probably find 12 good, solid naked bikes, you know, varying in displacement and ability to do things and variety and stuff. Whereas I feel like adventure bikes, since so many people are trying to get into them right now, it's really kind of a hard sell to get one for a cheap price.
Just because they're so popular. Everybody knows how good they are, man.
No, it's because everyone's running out and trying to buy a personality. That's why.
Counterpoint to that is you can find cheap ADV bikes. You've got yourself the DR300 or DR650. You got the KLR 650. You've got
a bunch of
options.
A DR650 is an adventure bike.
Sure it is. Ask a DR650 owner, man.
Dude, that's just a fat dual sport. That's not an adventure bike.
All right, KLR 650. You can find those for $2,000 all day. In pretty good shape too, mind.
$2,000 for a KLR that runs?
Oh yeah, all day.
I have to verify that. I don't believe you.
Give it a try, man. You'd be surprised how cheap KLRs can be.
I don't buy it. All right, who's up next? I think you got a point next,
I think
right?
I'm up next with, all right, they are designed to be durable. You can beat the crap out of an adventure bike. You can absolutely...
What happened to the BMW you rode off-road in Utah?
That BMW still runs.
Yeah, it's throwing a bunch of error codes.
But if you try to do what I did to the BMW on a naked bike, it would have been a yard sale. It would have come apart at the seams. The BMW, for all of its other faults, it's a freaking tank.
I think about it this way. My Desert Sled, is that a naked bike, an adventure bike? What do you qualify my Desert Sled as? It's a Scrambler.
Scrambler, so it's like a weird amalgamation of both.
It's not like, I mean, how many times have I crashed or dropped that thing, right?
But have you crashed it in the like spectacular fashion that I crashed the BMW?
No, but I think it's had basically like a repetitive stress injury with the amount of times I have crashed it, you know, and dropped it and stuff. I think that given that adventure bikes are designed to be run off-road, they are obviously more highly fortified than naked bikes, right? But I think a naked bike with a set of sliders is, for its intended use case, going to be just fine too, you know?
Yeah, but you're going to need to replace a bunch of stuff. You can't look at a naked bike that's gone for a slide and been like, that's adventure bike patina. If you drop an ADV bike and it's got some scuffs on it, that's just patina. I don't care that my plastics are chipped on the KLR. It's just that's what they're supposed to look like.
But some people
can't pay for that.
But some people aren't really interested in riding their bikes in that way. And this is talking about a daily ride. What is your daily ride that you're high-siding a BMW GS? You know, like, what is that? It's not a daily ride.
All right, so in your daily ride problems, let's say that you forget to tie your shoes and your shoelace gets tied around the foot peg as you're going to put your foot down. And it tips over, and literally nothing happens to it because it's got engine guards.
And you'll never pick it up because it's so damn heavy.
It's not that hard to pick up an ADV bike.
It's like 560 pounds, right?
I picked up the BMW.
You're a big guy.
Yeah.
You're a big guy. Not everyone's a big guy.
Just lift better.
it's like, I know the technique to do it, but you're talking about daily rides and for newer riders and stuff. A bike that big is intimidating for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like bikes that are that big because if they do drop it, they're worried they're not going to be able to pick it up because they may not know the right technique to use your back and to use, your arms.
But we're taught, all right, so that's flagship ADV bikes, but if you move down in weight, like the KLR, 450, 480 pounds, you can lift that up the same way that you would have to lift up the Hornet, which is 450, 480 pounds.
That's one adventure bike, right?
That's one adventure bike, but now we've got the Touareg, which is about that same. We've got the Tenere 700, about that same weight. You've got lighter ADV bikes.
That leads into my point, which actually is correctly related to this. They are much lighter weight than adventure bikes on the whole, by about 100 to 150 pounds usually, which makes them much more fun to ride, and they don't have that SUV of motorcycling effect that I was talking about earlier, where you have this big lumbering thing. I mean, I encountered this whenever I rode the Pan Am in Malibu, right? We're hitting up those twisties. The Versus 650 was way more fun to ride than the Pan Am in those real tight technical twisty sections, right?
I extract a little bit of joy of not using the right tool for the right job. It is pretty enjoyable to try to hustle something that's not meant to be hustled. But also, we're talking about your daily rider. Your daily rider is spending a lot of time on the highway. And if you're in
America, right? For a lot of people, it's not necessarily the highway as their only commute,
So if you're goofing around in the city, would you rather be...
I'd rather be on a naked bike. Why would I want to be on an adventure bike in the city?
Because you can sit up above all the other cars. You can actually look and see forward.
You can do that on a naked bike.
Not really.
You can look ahead. You can do the same bullshit that you do
You're
on
not
an
going to be able
bike.
to see through your Ram on a naked bike.
You can sit pretty tall on a naked bike. You can look up.
Not up over that thing.
Yeah, you can. I think you can. No. What's your next point?
My next point is, let's see here. Here we go. This one. Could be a counterpoint, could be a positive point. In my case, very positive. The fact that they are not as beautiful as naked bikes means that they are less likely to be stolen.
I knew you'd bring this
as
up.
naked bikes. I have had two motorcycles attempted theft.
That's fair.
In the city, and a lot of people park in cities, and a lot of people in cities want what's not theirs, including your motorcycle, and your adventure bike is too ugly to steal.
You know what? I will give you that one. Yeah, the adventure bike is much less likely to be stolen. Yes, much less likely. I'll give it to you. My next point is that you can do big miles and distance on a naked bike. It is not as fun or as easy as an ADV, but you won't regret doing big miles like on a Super Sport or something like that. They are still perfectly comfortable with their ergonomics. I am tired of hearing people in the comments and in DMs and stuff being like, I can't ride a 210 for 200 miles or whatever it is. You totally can. It's a different experience, right? You're not going to be coddled like you would on a Goldwing, right? It's a different experience. You're going to feel the wind a little bit more. But I think personally that's a positive. You get more excitement, more enjoyment. You get a motorcycle that actually can perform, as opposed to one that is kind of like, I guess it can kind of make it through these twisties and accelerate and stuff. You get a bike that is designed to do it.
But if you're road tripping, you're trying to do big distance, and you want to just be able to sit back, put on an audiobook, and motor on down the road.
You can do it on a naked bike.
Yeah, good luck.
It's not as fun. It's just not as great. I rode my desert sled from Galeana, Mexico to Austin in one day. It was 10 hours in the saddle. It was cold and wet. I did it.
And I did 16 hours from Atlanta and back to Austin.
And that still sucked, didn't it?
Didn't. I was able to do 16 hours and make it through relatively in one piece. I was tired.
Yeah, it sucked, though.
The thing is you're just in this nice bubble of comfort.
But doing massive miles on a bike, unless you're on a Goldwing or a Road King or Glide or whatever the hell, is not going to be great, is the thing. You know what I mean?
But you're closer to being comfortable on the adventure bike. You can get more miles out before you need to tap out.
Look, that's what I said on here. I said they're not as fun or as easy in ADV, but you can still do the big miles on a naked bike. It is still completely reasonable to do it. That's my point. What's your next point?
My next point is... here we go. We have a bunch of choices for great exhaust notes throughout the whole spectrum of ADV bikes. If you like thumpers, we've got them. We've got V4s. We've got V-twins. We've got parallel twins that sound like V-twins for people who are, homunculi and like the sound of normal P-twins. We've got them. Mm-hmm. There's even triple cylinders. Mm-hmm. So any exhaust sound that you want, you can get out of an adventure bike. You don't have to sacrifice anything.
Inline 4.
There is which one was it?
There is no inline 4 real adventure bike.
I mean, just throw a set of TKC80s on a FZ1. Job done.
You can't get the screaming inline 4 sound. It matters to a lot of people. You can get a screaming V4 sound from Ducati, a pretender ADV bike that they make that's a fridge on wheels, but, whatever. My next point is somewhat related to that. I said that many naked bikes nowadays are totally track ready. Street Triple, for example. As long as you have sticky rubber and no fluid leaks, you can go and rip up a track day, no problem. I've seen guys on track with adventure bikes. They are always B- pace. They are never doing anything serious. They're always there just having a laugh, having a goof, which is kind of like the adventure bike thing, It's pretty much you're always just having a laugh, having a goof with these bikes. But I think that the naked bike, it can live this dual life a little bit better than the ADV bike can live the supposed dual life of on-road, off-road. The naked bike can truly be an everyday commuter and truly go to the track and rip it up with the best of them. That's my point.
Counterpoint to that is, obviously, I will concede that at the track, an ADV bike is not at home. However,
unless it's a Pikes Peak Multistrada.
Which, apparently, at that point, you've completely lost the plot, Ducati. Stop it.
You've lost the plot.
Get some help. But you do have to admit that as a daily rider, you can go out and do most things that you're going to do with your buddies on naked bikes on an adventure bike. And you'll be able to keep up.
You can. On a street pace, you will keep up. It's all about the rider again, like we said. You put me on a Tenere 700. I mean, I did this with Chase out in Atlanta. I was right there with him the whole time. Even though I was on the Moto Z Tractionator tires. Mm-hmm. There was definitely one corner where I was like, I'm about to low side this right now. But it didn't happen. So, yeah, they'll keep up. But I think that the naked bike lives that dual life a little better, in my opinion.
But then you have the other side of the coin where you get to go off-road. And you get to play around off-road. And it's a lot easier to do that than on a naked bike. I would argue that a naked bike is equally as compromised off-road as a adventure bike is on track.
Because it's not even remotely designed to go off-road. It's the same as the ADV bike going to the track. You're like, I'm not really built for this, is it? Mm-hmm. So,
and for me, I would personally rather be going off-road more often because it's cheaper. You're less likely to have spectacular injury. And if you have a tip over, you're going to land on some nice soft grass.
I disagree with not having spectacular injuries off road. I've seen some gnarly crashes off road. We had a guy when I was in that Mexico trip. He freaking rode off a bridge doing some adventure riding. I had to be helicoptered out and had to stay a month in Mexico. It can go sideways off road, really nasty, really fast.
I would argue that it happens nastier and faster at the track.
No, I've crashed on track 5 or 6 times now. You just go for a long slide and you get some bruises. Sometimes you break a collarbone or two, but most of the times you just slide.
I mean, that's how most of mine have been high sides. So I just do a nice tuck and roll on the other side and walk up and be like, yeah, time for a beer.
Like I hit oil on the Daytona going 115 miles per hour and I just basically slid, Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your next point?
My next point is, let's see here. I feel like we're getting pretty long in the tooth here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do one more point. You want to do just one more?
I actually believe that through all of our conversation points, I have exhausted mine.
Okay. I had one final one that I think you'll have some qualms with. My final point is that naked motorcycles are actually fast. Unlike most ADVs that are kind of fast on a good day, a middleweight naked will basically obliterate all ADV bikes except for something like a Multistrada V4, which isn't really even an ADV. A hyper naked is idiotically fast as well. If you want to go fast, naked bike.
We're talking for the daily rider, though. The daily
riders like to go fast. We have a lot of people whose daily ZX6s and shit, right?
But how often are you going to be whining it out versus just droning at 80 miles an hour? So you're going to be
Depends on the rider.
You're going to be able to spool out an ADV bike as far as you want.
Yeah.
And, be able to feel like, yeah, I'm using everything this bike has. Again, we come back to it's more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow.
That's right. ADV bikes are slow.
Slow bike fast, baby.
All right, let's see on Discord what the people said with their reacts.
I know it's already going to be naked bike because we have a predisposition to naked bike people.
Gotta pull it up here.
Y'all aren't helping me out here. Come on.
I don't think they got the message because I'm only seeing one react for naked bike. So this one person right there voted for the naked bike. So maybe we have to communicate a little bit better to the naked bike boys and the adventure bike boys over on Discord that they needed to vote there at the end. But that's going to conclude the this or that segment over here on the Yamcast. Let's move on to the DM portion of the podcast.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, folks, welcome to the DM portion of the podcast. For this week, we have asked the Discord boys to send us in messages about maintenance on their motorcycle. What are they willing to do to their bikes? What are they not willing to do? Maintenance they've done, those sorts of things. So for the boys over on the live stream, please DM Splite on Discord your stories or your ideas about maintaining your motorcycle. We read them live on the air, and we will discuss. Let's start off with ourselves. Maintenance on bikes. What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do?
So at this point, the only thing that I haven't done is a valve check. I've gone inside and built a motor, at least a top end, and it was complicated, but it was doable.
Just follow the directions, real careful.
I've fixed a lot of stuff on bikes. I'm getting to the point now where there's usually not a job where I'm like, do I really want to just take it in, or can I just figure out a spot to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Like fixing the slave cylinder, or all the little things on a motorcycle that can go wrong. I just like to do it because then I know I did it right.
Yeah.
Or if I did it wrong, then I have nobody to blame but myself.
Yeah.
I do sometimes have that little nagging thing in the back of my brain being like, you took it in for a valve check and you paid $600. Did they check the valves? Because they could have just been like, yeah, sure, it's good.
Yeah, that'd be pretty negligent, but I guess they could do that. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen some weird stuff out of shops in
I had the wrong pistons going the Turbo Busa. So yeah, can go sideways real fast. I think for me, I'm in a similar boat. I like doing my own stuff to the extent of me knowing how to do it, and once I know how to do it, I'm okay with taking it for somebody else to go do it. I am very tight on time these days.
Yeah.
And it is very difficult for me. And I own a lot of bikes. It's pretty hard for me to try to maintain them all myself and do everything myself. Sometimes it just makes sense for me to just take the bike and have people do it and then call it a day. Like the KTM 250 the other day, it needed some work done for the 30-hour service and the valve check and some others. They needed a whole bunch of little things. I was like, I'm not going to do all this bullshit. I just dropped it off with the Kyles. I was like, you call me when it's done. And I didn't have time for it. So that's my extent with maintenance stuff because I do like riding more than wrenching.
See, I really have grown to enjoy wrenching on bikes. It's kind of like a zen thing for me. I just sit there and I'm like, I will solve this problem. It probably will take me 8 hours to get through it, but I'll do it. And I'll, listen to some podcasts or listen to some music and order some food in and just, it'll get done.
Yeah.
And it's like bonding with the bike.
It is bonding. Yeah. I have a lot of that with my race bike. I've done almost everything to that bike myself. And I feel like, I'm the one that put that weird, heat wrapped coolant element right there, But let's see what the Discord boys had to say.
So starting off, we have Tova here who apparently is good with just putting a tail bag.
All right, Tova says, I bought a tail bag for my Sportster S. I went to put it on and realized shortly after that you need the pillion seat to install it. It's a shame because it wasn't put on the website or I wouldn't have bought it first. So bit of a sad story there with some of his maintenance, I suppose.
Next up, we've got Left Lane Lanny.
All right. Left Lane Lanny says, I hate to admit it, but I pay for 99% of my maintenance. Real simple tasks like bulbs and air filters I will tackle, but any repairs go to the dealer, as well as my 5K mile service. What little free time I have goes to riding it. Also, I prefer having a knowledgeable tech doing the work. I ride a lot of miles and need to know my bike is as ready and safe as possible. Not cheap, but money well spent to know my bike is as road ready as possible. There's that too. If you don't feel comfortable doing the work and putting your own life in your hands, so to speak, usually better to take it to a competent tech.
I will never blame somebody for not doing maintenance on their own bike. I will. That is something where it's like at this point I'm like, you know what? I know that what I did is going to hold up.
Yeah.
But I also could see somebody who's like, nah, I'm not sure about turning this wrench, and causing an issue.
It doesn't take much. I mean, if you didn't like torque down your brake calipers or something, or your axle, you're gonna have a bad day, you know. So, yeah.
Moving on, we got Fast Bike Slow Rider.
Fast Bike Slow Rider says, I no longer do anything on my motorcycles. I was just learning to wrench on my KTM Super Duke, and when trying to install some engine case covers, over-torqued a bolt and cracked the engine block. Oh my God. Couldn't be welded, so I had to do a full engine rebuild. Oh my God. Yep. Now I take it to the dealership and live in constant fear of damaging my new Aprilia 210 V4 factory. That is crazy. Over-torquing stuff is bad. If you guys are home mechanics, oh my God, don't over-tighten bolts. We had a guy in the Discord who I think he misread, instead of inch pounds, it was foot pounds, and he tightened a master cylinder bolt to like 89 foot-pounds. I'm like, what were you thinking? The bolt's like this big.
Yeah.
Why would it need 89 foot-pounds on a bolt this big, you know? So, yeah.
I did that on the KTM when I was replacing the...
I remember that.
The shift rod for the quick shifter to help fix the false neutrals, which it kind of did. So at the end of the day, it wasn't worth doing. But it's terrifying when you over torque, when you get to that point where you're like, all right, it's just about to click, and then it spins.
Yeah,
and you're like, no.
Yeah. That's the worst feeling when it just goes click and it just goes through. You're like, oh no.
Because you can just sit there and spin it, but it's never going to grab another thread.
Nope.
Next up, we've got Full Metal Corgi.
Full Metal Corgi. What am I willing to do at home? What won't I do? My garage is an oil-stained mess of shame. I will tear down UJMs to the bare cases and even install a turbo kit. I've learned most of what I know through trial and error, and my bank account reflects that. I'm also doing an EV conversion, so I guess I can add that to unlock the next tier of cursing my neighbors can hear. So I feel like there's two types of motorcyclists. Like, when you start off, you either go down the path of like doing all your own stuff and wrenching, and you become some sort of like god tier, like can do anything on a bike type of dude, or you're just like, I don't really want to do this, and you just get lazy and you just keep paying for people to do stuff for you, you know?
Yeah, and I would like to talk about the point here where he's like, yeah, my bank account reflects that. It is not always cheaper to do shit at home.
Yeah, it is usually much more expensive if you it up and then you have to fix it and replay. Or here's the one I love. Whenever you try to do something yourself, you waste a bunch of time and money doing it, you don't do it right, and you still have to take it to the dealership to have them do it correctly.
Yeah.
That's the double whammy, you know? You paid labor, service, parts twice.
And then you have to deal with the guy who, you know, he's just looking at what you did, and he's like, this fucking idiot just was like, and you they may not say it, but you know they're saying it when they're in their bay.
For sure.
They're always judging.
Yep.
Next up, we got Bootius Maximus.
Bootius Maximus says, I prefer to do all my maintenance myself, although I'm scared to rebuild the engine on my 02 CBR 600 F4i. I bought it brand new in high school, so I don't want to get rid of it for sentimental reasons. One thing I hate doing is cleaning and lubing my chains. That's an easy one. Luckily, my 7-year-old daughter enjoys doing it in exchange for me giving her my Ninja 400 when she turns 16. Nice. Whole engine rebuild I would never do, personally.
No. I'm okay with taking the top end off at this point. At least on a Harley, because once you set the gears in the gearbox, you're all set. But timing on a bike scares the crap out of me. Timing really scares me.
Yeah.
So I just need to spend more time on that. Burger is next.
Burger says, I'm willing to do anything, oil changes, valves, paint, electrical work, up to and including pulling the engine and tearing it down, despite the fact that I have zero formal mechanical training and no garage or shop, and do everything in my driveway. Whether or not it works afterwards is usually a different story, but I somehow manage to succeed more often than not. I think success in terms of home maintenance is just following directions, man. From what I've seen from the stuff I do, it's like, you just have to do all the little stuff right and in the right order. If you screw something up in the middle or you get late, like this is something I do a lot where like I'm just trying to wrap something up. I start rushing. I get lazy, and then I screw something up, and I have to spend way more time just trying to do it the right way. I do that a lot.
That's why when I'll tell my girlfriend, I'll be like, all right, I'm going to the shop. I'm going to work on my bike. I don't know when I'll be back.
Yeah.
You might see me before sundown. You might not.
Yeah.
So it's come to this understanding between us where she's like, you're going to go work on your bike. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Because you really need to stay focused when you're working on it, because it's not
You
like IKEA where you can have a bunch of extra bolts lying around at the end and your shelves are going to work. Next up, Kryzen Desmo.
Kryzen Desmo. I have a Ducati Monster. I dump it at the dealership for repairs and service in exchange for the kidney of my firstborn. I know that feeling. I don't do anything on my desert sled. I won't. It's not worth it. I don't care. I don't care what anyone thinks about me. I know it's the easiest Ducati motor to work on. I'm not doing it.
Dude, I saw the inside of a Testastretta one time. Pass.
No thanks.
Stacy the Death Star.
Stacy the Death Star says, as a new rider, I plan on doing all my maintenance on my Ninja 400. I've done engine swaps, rebuilt car engines, done tons of vehicle maintenance. A bike engine can't be that much harder to deal with. Already got a rear stand for the chain cleaning and tension adjustments. I'm not afraid to buy a manual or tools and learn. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I've done a little bit of car work in the past, you could not pay me to work on a car ever again. Bikes are actually enjoyable depending on the circumstance because they're small. You can get in there. It's usually not too hard. Cars are like, oh my God, cars are horrible to work on. They're so big and annoying and like all the shits and weird like crevices, you know? I hate working on cars. So if you've done car stuff, you'll be totally fine working on a bike.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Satsui is next.
Satsui says, I haven't been riding for too long yet, so I can't say for sure where my give it to a shop line is, but so far I've done simple things on my Daytona, mostly small things like replacing my chain, mounting balancing tires, stator gasket replacements, and an oil change. I just got in new clutch plates and springs that I'll be installing myself. However, for my first time needing valves checked, I want to take it to a professional. It seems like valves are the place where most people tap out.
Yeah.
Honestly. And that's fair. They're very tricky. If you do them wrong, it's catastrophic, basically, and you got to make sure you do them right.
Yeah, the nice thing for me is I only have single cylinders, so I have 8 valves between 2 motorcycles.
Yeah, that's very good.
Actually, I don't know if the
KLR
has 4 valves.
I feel like it has to, right? No, it's a 2 valve, is it?
I'm not sure. Honestly, it might be a 3 valve. It might be
a 3 valve?
Yeah, it might be 2
really?
Intake, 1 exhaust. I'm not sure.
Possibly. Something to look up later.
It's a freaking donkey engine. I'll probably do the valves on that one before I do the valves on the KTM. Be like, if the valves are out of spec here, it'll be fine. It's a KLR.
It's funny how like the valve check procedure is it's weird because like it's easy. All you do is take a feeler gauge, and then if it's wrong, change out the shims or whatever, right?
Yep.
That's all it is. But it's so like precise and so delicate, you know? Like you have to really do the numbers right and make sure everything's good, triple check your work. Because if you get it wrong, oh boy.
And then you come back to timing because you have to pull the cam off.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, nope.
Got to make sure you're top dead center and stuff. And
yeah, I remember I did that on the Hornet way back when, and I was like, I'm in way over my head. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Next up, we have Pat.
Pat, I will do any fluid changes and chain maintenance, clean and lube, tensioning, anything else I keep away from. I only started about 2 years ago. Maybe I'll try more as I get more experienced. That's something that comes up a lot. I think you just end up doing maintenance items as they come up. There's no reason to do an entire valve check or top end rebuild if you don't have to, you know? Like, all the maintenance stuff I've done is because I had to do it at some point, you know? Like, you kind of run into that with the KLR. Like, you kind of had to do some of these changes, modifications to it, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things that, like, he's talking about building experience. A great way that I did that when I was coming up was modding the bike. It's weird how familiar you get with a motorcycle as you start modding it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm sure you could probably do, you know, a Daytona tail tidy with your with your eyes blindfolded at this point.
Probably, yeah.
Because you just, once you do
just
it,
know where things are on the bike.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I could take the Hornet apart in 10 minutes at this point.
Like, whenever I swapped out the subframe on the Daytona, I mean, I learned so much about how things fit in together with that bike and where things go, you know? Like, I mean, it's funny because, I mean, you just end up learning so much by modifying.
Yeah. 7 round burst is next.
All right, 7 Round Bird says, more of a general maintenance comment here. In January of last year, I had been to 6 track days, 2 on a 16 FC09, 1 on an Ninja 650, and 3 on a 19 MT10. I decided if I was going to keep doing this track thing, I wanted a super sport, so I went out and got my 2020 R6, brand new stock. I'd done most of my maintenance in the past, but I never learned so much about modding, upgrading, and maintaining a motorcycle as I have since I turned a stock super sport into a full-on track bike. Totally agree. It never ends, and I still have a lot I'd like to do with it. Just wanted to comment generally that tinkering with and maintaining a track bike is very rewarding and an excellent way to learn a lot of things. Totally, man. Like, that's what I did with my bike. My Daytona was basically bone stock when I bought it, and now it's like basically a full-on race bike. Over years and time and crashing and building and changing and replacing, going the track route is definitely the way to learn how to mod a bike, but I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. Like, it's way easier to buy a bike that's already set up by somebody else and then just kind of change what you need to change and then it's just done.
But then you run into that issue of you're like having to, it's like trying to check over somebody else's code.
Yes.
You know, like why?
There's a bunch of weird
Yeah, it's like, why did you tap this wire into that terminal when it's not even like what the is going on here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they're, especially with track and race bikes, the jank level is out of control. It's out of control.
Because they're just like, it needs to start and do this.
Yeah.
As long as it starts and does this, we're all good.
Yeah.
Phantom 10792 is next.
Phantom says, I don't think I'm willing to do too much internal work. My Ninja 300 will be fine going over the valve intervals, right? Probably, yeah, but I wouldn't chance it personally. I mean, there's no reason to chance it. Just go and get it checked out. But it'll probably be fine.
You probably skip the first one as long as you do. Because a lot of times your first valve check ends up being just a check.
Yeah.
Unless you're running the engine real hard.
Yeah.
You're not.
You don't need to swap out the shims or anything.
No. Marky Mark is next.
Marky Mark. Probably obvious from the state of my bikes, I demolished them, speaking of bad ADV crashes, and do bare minimum maintenance. My kind of guy right there. I bring tire changes to my tire changing wizard friend. We've all got one. Only time I've brought bikes to the dealership is the couple times I tacoed the T7 front wheel. Yamaha doesn't sell the wheel as a whole for some reason. I don't want to lace a wheel. I rebuilt the top end once, and now the bike doesn't run, so that's fun. Carb work is the most annoying, but also the most rewarding.
No.
Also, sorry, small bikes all the way. Oh, y'all's Discord is screwed up. Score was 52 nakeds, 21 ADV last I checked. Nice.
God damn it. I knew it was going to be more naked.
You're like, they're not enlightened.
But carb work is not the most rewarding. No, it's really because carbs are literally a black hole into which all light and emotion and soul and levity goes to die.
And also get turned into bang suck, bang blow, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. It's just it's not good.
Yeah.
Carburetors are stupid. Final word.
Yeah.
We've solved this problem. DC is next.
DC says, won't do valves. Got my 2020 Gixxer 750 with 960 miles on it. I had to lift it because the owner was short. Other than that, I adjusted the chain, replaced rear tire, and air filter. Yeah, a lot of people, valves are the line.
I mean, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the most... I've heard of a couple of people who do take their bike in for like filter changes and chain stuff, and it's like, no, dude, just it's really not that hard.
Yeah.
Honaha Yamada is next.
Honaha Yamada. What's up, dudes? I think right now some of the only stuff I won't do to my bike is like spite the valves, but honestly, I got the bike I have, the 1985 Honda Sabre, specifically so I could learn more about working on it and making it my own. There have been some things that while I'm doing it, I wished I'd brought it. But most of the time, I'm glad I did it myself. Most of the time, LOL. But a lot of the time, the tools I need to do it cost less than the mechanic will charge, and then you have the tool. Not saying that's always the right choice, but I'm a cheap bastard, so usually I go that route. Take care, bros. Yeah, I mean, if you invest in the tool, you have the tool, and you can do it.
Yeah.
And you usually don't need that many crazy tools to do some of these jobs.
Unless it's a Ducati.
Unless it's a Ducati. But the big thing is you need to learn how to use those tools.
Yes.
A lot of people buy tools and then they don't use them correctly and they do things incorrectly and break stuff. And then they're like, well, what did I do wrong? Like, I had the right tool. It's like, got to use it right, you know? Torque wrench is only as good if you know what torque setting you're setting it to, right? Like, like the guy who tightened his master cylinder bolt to 89 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
I'm sure he used a torque wrench, you know?
Yeah.
He also sent it to oblivion. So, yeah.
After stripping out the bolt on the KTM, and knowing that I needed a bunch of teensy tiny little torque numbers for the KLR, I went out and bought a really nice inch-pound torque wrench.
Nice.
And I leave it in the box. I made sure I declicked it. After it's done, it's just sitting in a nice little pristine spot. When I need it, that is like my holy grail tool.
Yeah.
Because if anything needs to be precise, it's those inch-pound numbers.
Yes. Yes.
Next up, we have...
Richer than cat piss fingers. Wow.
Okay.
I will do very slight things like oil changes, but I will never do any fairing work alone again. Use a few zip ties, and then this happens.
All right, let's see what this is all about.
Uh-oh. I know what's going to happen.
Did a fairing come off?
I'm pretty sure his entire side fairing just came off. Yep. You see it go on the right? Watch the right. You see that blue right there? Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see the pipe show up.
Look. Zoop.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have seen some fairings fly off mid-ride, and I'm just like, you should have used the push pins.
Yep.
Dude, taking all the push pins off a street bike, oh, that's the worst.
Yeah. I personally feel like every fully faired bike should be like my race bike. It just has like 3 of the Zeus clips.
The
That's
D-rings. Next up, we have Waller 163.
Walker 163. The farthest I will go into a bike is to change the clutch. Interesting. Anything involving breaking open the cylinder is off limits for me. I already shot my clutch basket across the room from using a clutch compressor improperly, and I'm now more weary, to say the least. A Harley Sportster with the Hammer Performance kit, by the way. Nice.
That reminds me of when, speaking of using the right tool properly, remember when we had the clutch basket compressor thing on the Harley, and we were like, we just needed to like compress it a little bit, and we just kept torquing it, and we broke that cover off, and it was like, it's like it needed.
Well,
to
it's because Hammer Dan kept telling us to keep going. Remember?
Yeah, Hammer's like, he's like, you'll feel it, and I was like, it feels like it's there, but it's like it's not like it bottomed out.
I remember I was like, this is a lot on this thing, dude. And then it broke.
Yeah, and we're like, oops.
Luckily, that was a pretty easily replaceable part. So
yeah. It was mostly a stupid thing. Like, I called up the Harley dealer and I was like, I need part number blah blah blah, and he's like, oh, you were trying to replace your clutch and you over tightened the thing, didn't you? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Walker followed up and he said, that's exactly what I did. It blew up in my face. Yep. That will happen. Alrighty, folks, that's going to wrap up our DM conversation here on Discord. We're now going to move on to the meme contest. Stick around. Alrighty, folks, welcome to the meme contest of the week. This week, we have asked the boys to meme the Predator video. So many good memeable moments in that video.
So many memeable moments.
I'm very excited to check these memes. Are we doing a contest for this one? Or
yes,
grading these?
We have a contest. We are giving away first prize is $100 to Amazon.
Nice.
Then we got $50 to Amazon, and then a Yammy Noob T-shirt.
Sweet.
The third prize.
Let's dole out some prizes. Let's see these memes.
Alrighty, starting us off, we have Asian Jim.
Asian Jim here says, why Harley riders don't wave at anyone else.
Okay.
Are we missing something here?
Too cool, maybe? Maybe they're too cool?
They're too cool. God, that image of you riding that Hornet with that helmet is so ridiculous.
That is the worst helmet I've ever put on my head. I'm just going to put it there.
Yeah, I could see that.
You got to wear it one of these days.
I do, yeah. I need to check it out. All right, let's rate this meme.
So for Asian Jim here, quality and funniness.
I think it missed the mark a little bit. I think the quality was quite low. It was just like text and video. Maybe like a 3?
A 3? And funniness.
I think it's a 0. I didn't get anything.
Oh, man. That's a rough start at a 3.
I didn't laugh at all. I don't know.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I got nothing out of it.
Next up, we have Cries in Desmo.
Cries in Desmo here. Keyboard Warrior seeking validation. There's the Cowie 650. It says, I drive a Honda minivan. And then the rest of the helmets are the Suzuki 645, the CP2, and the Aprilia.
I do like this one.
Yeah, that's quite good that the Kawi 650 is the Predator helmet and the rest are like good engines.
The Kawasaki 650 is a Predator helmet of engines.
Sort of. I think that's a little unfair to because at least it's still an engine that does engine things. Like that helmet barely does helmet things. Like it, you know what I mean?
That motor barely does motorcycle things. It fails to excite, and that's what an engine needs to do.
Fails to excite, yes. But this is a good meme, though. I like it.
It is a good meme. Okay, so for Kryzen Desmo, quality.
I think a 5 for this one.
Yeah.
Kind of middle of the bell curve, just some text.
And funniness.
Pretty funny. How about a 6.5 for this bad boy
6.5.
right there? That's pretty good.
That's an 11.5. That is our new front runner. Fist 04 is next. With
so 4. Simple here. You with the thumbs up and the half helmet and says, I'm getting laid tonight. That is a great reaction from you. You look so deranged.
Oh, man. That whole scene with me and Whitney just
it was so funny.
It was so good.
It was very funny. I still can't believe that is the Predator helmet underneath all of it, you know?
That is what it's made of.
That's all it is.
Just some little 3/4 helmet.
Oh, God. It's a helmet. Like, you wouldn't even see that at like a go-karting place. It's so
No. All right. So, for Fist 04, quality here.
I think a 5 as well. Kind of bell curve situation.
But funny.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, I think a 7.
This was a simple but funny one.
Simple but funny.
Full Metal Corgi is next. Fully expecting something good from him.
All right, Full Metal Corgi here. When your wife comes home early and catches you cosplaying with your new gear, and then she checks your kid's college fund, and you're running away. That's pretty good. That's pretty creative. Yeah, I think a lot of motorcyclists can vibe with that sentiment of like, you're just like, you know, like you buy a brand new suit or brand new helmet, you're just at home just wearing it. And your significant other's like, what are you doing?
Have you ever, maybe this is just me because I'm weird like that, but I will buy a new pair of gloves, and then to start breaking them in right away, I'll drive home in the gloves.
Yeah, I don't do that. But I will say when I got my Isle of Man Corsair X from a ride, I've wanted that helmet for so long. I dropped so much money on it. When it got home, I probably wore it on my head for like an hour at my house, just like, yeah.
It's just like feeling it.
Yeah, I was like, it's. So, I kept turning to my fiance, and I was like, it's so sweet, isn't it? She's like, I know.
You keep telling me.
You keep telling me it's really nice. I'm like, it's gonna look so sweet at the track day. I'm gonna look so cool.
And then you immediately dropped it.
I immediately crashed in it. Yeah, because I went out on track without my gas cap on my bike because I was too focused on the helmet. That sucked. I had just redone my bike too. That is annoying. Whatever.
All right, 4 Full Metal Corgi here. Quality.
Quality's good. I liked it. I think a 6.5 at least. Yeah.
6.5. And funniness.
I think a 7.5.
7.5.
Good chuckle. Quite funny.
That is a new leader at 14 for Full Metal Corgi.
Nice.
Next up, we got Lil Fousey Burt with, I think this is a video here.
POV, you've just been asked a specific 4th GP question. You pray, but Lord Rossi is not there. Okay, go back to Lil Fousey Burt's one. Maybe this is a meme format that we don't know. I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah.
It's like a small child walking, and then the big child comes through.
I don't
think I understand it.
No.
It's a bit too esoteric for me. Maybe we've lost touch with the memes.
Maybe we have.
I haven't seen this one ever. I don't know what's going on.
Interesting. Okay. You've got to rate it.
I don't.
It didn't land.
It didn't land. There was some quality associated with it, some photoshopping and some stuff like. How about a 4 for quality?
A 4. And funniness.
I think a 0. I
Yeah.
got nothing from it. I'm sorry, Lil Fousey Bird. I didn't understand it.
Nope. That's 4. Next up, we've got who's this?
Stiggy Rye.
Stiggy Ray. With
this one is quite good. POV, you've never felt the touch of a woman, and it's the helmet at checkout at Amazon. Yeah.
I still can't believe it's $197.59.
I'm telling you, I found that helmet on Alibaba for $70, and that makes me think they're making it for like $10.
Yeah. I mean, have you held it?
Yeah. No, I held it. I looked at it. I was like, this is a $10 helmet. $10 lid.
Yeah, that's kind of what so after buying this, my whole Amazon completely borked now. It's like it wants to give me like cosplay.
God.
It wants to give me like a bunch of weird cruiser tacky pouches with a bunch of chains and stuff on them.
I'm like, get targeted ads based on that. You're like, oh no.
I've completely borked my internet.
Oh no.
All right, so for Stiggy Ray here.
I think the quality is very, very middle of the road. I think a 4 or a 5 as well.
Yeah, I think a 5.
Yeah, about a 5.
And funniness.
Pretty funny. How about a 6?
A 6. That is an 11. Next up, we've got Tova with...
Okay, Tova here, the Predator helmet. And then I actually can't say that P word on stream, or I'll have to blur it out. Seal of approval. And then it's Chris Hansen says, nice helmet, bud. Take a seat. So the Predator helmet. So see, it's more of a child Predator.
Yeah.
That kind of Predator. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting take on it.
I guess associating all of those folks with the Predator helmet.
I think that's a bit unfair.
Yeah.
Like they're just tacky and weird. They're not that. You know? Bit of a rough week today, huh?
Yeah, not hitting the mark this week.
Where are heavy hitters? We need to bring back the heavy hitters.
Next up, for
we got to rate it. Hold on.
Got to rate it. Just wanted to move right on.
Yeah. Quality. Well, he put some effort into the Photoshop job. How about a 5? Middle of the bell curve there.
5. And funniness.
I'm going to hit it with another 0.
Another 0.
Damn, we're doling them out today. We got a 3, a 4, and a 5 for our top scores here. That's rough.
Race to the bottom.
Yep.
Next up, we've got Z-Fang.
Z-Fang.
With...
So it says Beavis and Butthead laughter intensifies, and it's you and Whitney on the couch. That's pretty good. Yeah.
I like that.
It did have that kind of energy, didn't it?
That was such a just... That whole scene, I'm glad Derek just never stopped rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good.
All right, for Z-Fang, quality.
Z-Fang quality here. How about a 6?
A 6.
Pretty good.
And funniness.
That's pretty funny. How about a 6.5?
A 6.5.
Yeah.
That is a 12.5. We still don't have any ties, so maybe we'll see something interesting out of TJA 23115.
He's a printer, not a user. Yeah, that's definitely how it felt. I'm amazed you actually went and rode out with that thing. I mean, you did a very short ride with it.
Yeah, I literally just poodled around and I was being very ginger.
I'm done. Yeah. Yeah, you just don't feel safe with that thing at all. I mean, if you came down, it would just shatter into a billion pieces. It wouldn't do anything.
It would just explode.
Yeah.
We're going to make that helmet somehow worse in the coming days.
Yes, we are.
Quality here for Mr. Printer.
I think this one's another 5, kind of middle of the bell curve situation.
And funniness.
Pretty funny. How about a 6?
A 6. Yeah. That is an 11.
All right. So first place is Full Metal Corgi.
First place to Full Metal Corgi. Second goes to Z-Fang.
Yep.
And third goes to
Fist 04.
Fist 04, yes. No ties, no nothing, so we're all good.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Get their prizes.
Going to get you out those prizes. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, if you've made it all the way to the end of a Yamcast, I guarantee you're going to love the Discord server. Join over on yamnoob.co. Join the Discord. It's a great time. And we will catch you guys in the next one. See you later.
Keep watching